Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching the Daily Roundup on NBC. Now, as the chill of winter settles in across Namibia, many of us are reaching for extra blankets, hot drinks, and thicker jackets. But staying warm isn't the only priority. This season, winter brings its own set of health challenges, from colds and flu to dry skin and even mental health dips. So how do we actually take care of our bodies and minds during this season? And how can we, keep our immune system strong and our families safe, especially children and the elderly? Joining us now is Dr. Cornelia Ndifon from Stirling Media Centre, here to share expert advice on how we can all stay healthy, warm and energized throughout the winter months. Doctor, very good evening to you. Welcome.
Good evening, John. Good evening, Namibians. Nice to always be with you.
Absolutely. Under the circumstances of the cold. Very, very happy to have you. Talk to us about the most common health issues during that people actually get to face a lot during the winter season.
Yeah, thank you so much for that opening question. So during the winter season, people commonly get problems around the respiratory system, the musculoskeletal system, the gastrointestinal system, and the central nervous system. In the respiratory system or the respiratory tract, you will get the very cold we are mentioning. Yeah. You will get flu, bronchitis, sometimes outbreak of a new asthma or worsening of asthma. Now, when I say musculoskeletal, I'm talking about muscles and joints. Okay. So that's where you get diagnoses like arthritis, where the joints are stiff and painful because of the cold. Now, in the gastrointestinal system, there's something we call stomach flu. So meaning that there are viral infections that the person seems to have flu, but in addition, there will be some bit of vomiting and diarrhea. Okay? And in the central nervous system, the mental part of it, there's what they call seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, where people are kind of having some mood, tending more towards depression, down, and that is basically because in the winter season, we have longer periods of darkness. Night falls comes early, and sunrise is also late. So actual daylight or sunlight is sort of shortened. Limited.
Absolutely. Yeah. So is that then why our immune systems actually get to be much more vulnerable, especially to the examples you gave, like the respiratory system, quite critical, in fact, to our immune system?
Yeah, so during that winter, the air is cold and dry. That coldness and the dryness, they all affect the mucosa. When air enters our nostrils, it is being filtered in a way by certain structures we call cilia. These can be affected by that cold air. And the secretions, they get thicker. They are not fluid. And so they sort of trap these, should I say, inhalants and the viruses. These are things we don't see. We are inhaling them. So there are two ways now. The immune system itself is sort of dampened, if I can use that word, because one, we are not being exposed to enough sunlight. So vitamin D is not being formed enough, and therefore we have low levels circulating. In that sense, our immune system is dampened. On the other side, in favor of the virus, for example, is that the weather keeps the virus longer. And so those two come together, and then we have a lot of this cold and flu. Cold does not necessarily mean that if they were to examine you for the flu virus, you will get the virus. No. But the two conditions work together, and then they are just heavy on the immune system. And because we don't have enough sunlight, we stay sicker for longer during that time.
Very, very interesting. So what are some of those practical ways then that one can actually use to boost their immune system, especially for those who cannot afford medicine, or rather some of the supplements that are being made available for treating this kind of illnesses?
Okay, so now, like we've said, cold and flu is a combination of weather and virus. So what does the weather do? Our skin is dry, and therefore we feel dry generally.
Okay.
So what can we do? I know things are hard for people. It's not all about having money to get expensive supplements, but just keeping yourself hydrated.
Yeah.
Like, take a lot of water. And at this time, you can't just be taking cold water. You will need to take warm water. Okay? Number 2, keep your lips wet by using lip balms. When you put cream on your body, make sure that you use creams that sort of retain moisture on your skin. And don't leave your palms and the soles of your feet dry. Try to cover all these places with cream. Thirdly, you started introduction by saying we need to keep ourselves warm. You said that people were getting blankets and all those things. Yeah, don't just have a blanket and leave it there. Put it on you. Look at how I'm dressed. Many layers of clothing.
Yeah.
If it is children, cover their neck and their head, if possible, the ears. The same thing with old people.
Yeah.
Now, as we're approaching the winter, let's say that you are still feeling healthy. What can you do? Get vaccinated. Yeah, get vaccinated, apart from just these sort of basic, very simple things. But what I'm trying to say, if you wake up tomorrow and you are feeling healthy, don't wait to come up with symptoms. Then you are panicking, what do I do? This is a time, because the winter is coming, it hasn't hit yet.
Exactly.
But it's coming. So we don't give vaccines when people are having symptoms of ill health. So when you really feel well, this is the time to go and get vaccine, because the CDC and WHO, they recommend yearly vaccines for children, elderly people, and people with chronic diseases. But like you said, the practical, everyday things that we can do, if you have blanket, cover yourself, have stockings, sleep under the blanket. It's not the time to expose your belly button and expose your shoulders and expose your six-pack, things like that. This is the time for us to stay covered.
That's right.
Yes.
And some people will actually say that sexy beats the weather.
And then don't forget, drink, in that trying to take your warm water, you can actually squeeze into that water your orange, your lemon, your nut cheese, eat these citrus fruits. Yeah, they really, really help. Don't go worrying about, I don't have money to get buy expensive supplements.
That's exactly
Just
right.
look around your house, maybe a lemon tree is there.
Absolutely. There could always be one by any chance. Now, looking at children and the elderly especially, or people with chronic illnesses during this time, what extra care do they actually need to take during this time of the winter?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, in terms of vaccination, as I was saying, these are the priority. The children and the elderly and people with chronic diseases.
Yes.
They should be prioritized for vaccination against the flu. But again, I repeat, flu or winter problems are not only virus related. Like I said, the sheer weather itself, the coldness and the dry air. So these people need to be kept warm.
Yes.
It's never good to expose the very young and the very old, because the way their physiology works in terms of temperature regulation is not the same thing as someone that is really fit, say a 35-year-old or a 45-year-old. And when we're talking about the elderly, we're looking at people above 65,
That's right? Yeah.
And then children, should I say, probably below the age of 10, but more so below the age of 5. Yeah. I saw a child at my clinic today, and I was telling the parents that like boys, the hair is low, not like girls. Even now, my hair is bigger than your own.
Of course.
And this kid is just 2. And they just brought the child with the head open, and they were complaining that the child was having cough, you know. Then I said, no, because the weather has changed, try to cover the child. And even the winter clothes in our shops, they all come with the hood, right? And when you put the hood properly, it also covers your neck and your ears. Right. Because this cold is entering everywhere, and we need to keep the cold out.
Absolutely. Very, very important information that you shared with us here, Doctor. Thank you so much for being here this evening, for sharing this information. I'm taking them very seriously after this, in fact. We wish you all the best. We hope to help you, of course, have you again soon to talk about more issues on how we can keep ourselves healthier.
Thank you so much, John. It's always my pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Dr. Cornelia Ndifon from Stirling Media Centre. Medical Center, pardon me, who was, of course, here with us, talking to us about how to actually take extra care of ourselves during this winter, as we all know that winter has finally approached us. We are going to bring you another conversation after a short break. Do stay with NBC.